Are you ready? This is my part of the control tower. We gonna chant them down. We gonna push them down. We gonna break them down. Get ready to sing. 1, 2, 3. I'm an alien in my country. Think it's Nevis, that shouldn't be. Foreigners taking over slowly in my country. Lord have mercy. I'm an alien in my country. Government pretend that they can't see. Foreigners taking over slowly like a bulldozer. They gon' crush me. Think it's Nevis where I was born. There will be no place for me to hold on. We'll be sinking, we'll be drowning in deep water. There'll be no recover. Power hungry politicians slowly selling outer island to Tom Dick. Anybody who have money, now look what they make we. I'm an alien in my country. Think it's Nevis belongs to we. Foreigners taking over daily in my country. Lord have mercy. I'm an alien in my country. Government pretend that they can't see. Foreigners taking over slowly like a bulldozer. They gon' crush me. The little job that we used to have, foreigners take it while me a starve. The little food that I used to send, foreigners taking even that as well. The jobs and businesses here in this country are owned by Arabs, Indians and Chinese. Gone to the beach, this white man tell me to get off of his property. I'm an alien in my country. Think it's Nevis, that shouldn't be. Foreigners taking over slowly in my country. Lord have mercy. I'm an alien in my country. Government pretend that they can't see. Foreigners taking over daily like a bulldozer. They gon' crush me. DJ Morrishaw came and tell me. He said, mighty, listen carefully. There'll be no place in our country left for our we. Watch and you will see. Foreigners will be Prime Minister. Foreigners will be Premier. Foreigners will be Governor. Father passport money, we're going back in slavery. I'm an alien in my country. Think it's Nevis, that shouldn't be. Foreigners taking over daily in my country. Lord have mercy. I'm an alien in my country. Government pretend that they can't see. Foreigners taking over slowly like a bulldozer. They gon' crush me. If you are proud to be a Kititian, if you are proud to be a Nevisian, then take your flag up in your hand and wave it in any direction. This land belong to you and me. So stand up with pride and dignity and tell them foreigners bully. They ain't gonna chase me out of we country. I'm an alien in my country. Think it's Nevis, should belong to we. Foreigners taking over daily in our country. Lord have mercy. I'm an alien in my country. Government pretend that they can't see. Foreigners taking over slowly like a bulldozer. They gon' crush me. Put up the flag and wave. Come on, put up the flag and wave. Let me see you say. Put up the flag and wave. Let me hear you say. Put up the flag and wave. Let me see you do it. Wave it, wave it. Let me go, let me go, let me go, let me go. Put up the flag and wave. Put up the flag and wave.
Yes, sounds of the mighty Pat. I'm an alien in my country. I'm DJ Morrishaw, and I'm coming to you live and direct from my bunker here in the Republic of St. Paul, St. Kitts. Yes, you heard it right. I'm here in Sweet Sugar City. The last couple of days has been some trying time here in the region. Had some tropical storm, had some waters, not only here in St. Kitts, Nevis, but around the region there. I see Montserrat and Antigua get a washing. Also the Virgin Islands. My sister Esther sent me a few videos there from the Tortola area, Hampton Gut, and most of Tortola is flooding. So we need to thank God for sparing us that type of treatment here in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And we just have to continue to respect each other, love each other, and do the right thing. I am an alien in this country, but guess what? The country belongs to we. I love Sweet Sugar City, St. Kitts. I love the people here. And we're going to start off early this evening. I have two commentary for Dwyer. I did not play the one last week because of time constraint. I'm going to play it this evening. But before we even get into the commentary from last week, Brother Dwyer came up with a very powerful commentary for today. So without any further ado, I'm going to go straight into the first commentary with Brother Dwyer, get into some chat. We're going to talk the things, and then we get back to him and the latter one from last week. And my boy DJ Rabuka and those guys, Ronnie Rascal and folks, who look forward to hearing Brother Dwyer commentary weekly. And you were disappointed last week, you didn't hear it, but you will hear it this evening. I'll come back and hail up a few folks. But I have to give Dwyer enough credit for his commentary today, because when I listen to his commentary, this is the message that I've been trying to send for some time now. And people seems to have an issue when you're trying to speak truth to power or trying to keep our good up Labour Party, Labour administration on the right track, as they say, on the straight and narrow. And people, we got to say the things them as they are. We got to call them out. You can't wait until it's too late when election time and you start talking your nonsense and want to get a $500 here, $500 for your vote. We're not into the vote selling business. We're not into the vote buying business. We elect governments to run countries and to do the right thing by everyone. Not some people eat and some suffer. Everybody must benefit. So let's take a quick listen to my boy there, J.A. Dwyer Astafan, and we're going to get right into the program.
Greetings. I'm hoping that we will soon see the end of the culture of intolerance and even the cancel culture we have here against persons who express opinions that are not shared by us, whether at a personal level or a group level or a national level or a political level. We need to move on to a point where we encourage and support different ideas and perspectives, and to create an environment of open-mindedness, tolerance, respect, and civility. We won't get anywhere if we don't get there. There's nothing wrong with questioning and critiquing people who you love. Indeed, if you love somebody and you believe they're doing or saying something wrong, you have a moral obligation to point it out to them. What is wrong is when you see or hear something that tells you that your friends are making a mistake and you say or do nothing. That is what is wrong. What is also wrong is if you know the truth or what you sincerely believe to be the truth, and you keep it to your chest rather than share it. There's nothing wrong with wanting the best for our country. Nothing wrong with contributing to the debate and to the effort to get the best for the country. In fact, everything is wrong with not doing that. Meanwhile, I'm going to continue trying to be watchful, thoughtful, honest, and forthcoming, and in my own little way to make a contribution to the national conversation and the public good. In this vein, I wish today to discuss some matters relating to governance. First, the Integrity in Public Life Act. This act sets a deadline for all relevant public officials to file their declarations of assets and liabilities. In fact, there are two deadlines. One for persons who were officials before April 22nd, 2023. Their deadline was July the 23rd. And the other for officials appointed on or after April 22nd, 2023. Their deadline is 100 days after appointment. The field of public officials who fall under the Act is very wide. In fact, it covers about 50 categories: Prime Minister, Cabinet members, parliamentarians, Attorney General, Solicitor General, Director of Public Prosecution, other senior legal officers, registrars, permanent secretaries, ambassadors, chairpersons and deputy chairpersons, and so on and so on. Chairs, deputies, CEOs, managing directors, and general managers of Development Bank, National Bank, UDC, ZIZ, and so on and so on. It does not expressly mention members of the Board of Governors of the Citizenship by Investment Unit, which I think it should, but it may reference them by implication in the provisions listing the officials. I would prefer for it to be explicit and express. I also did not notice mention of the Cabinet Secretary in the list, or the Prison Commissioner, or the Defense Force Commander, or their assistants. If they aren't on the list, I think they should be. Meanwhile, the Act states that a person who fails without reasonable cause to furnish to the Integrity Commission his or her declaration in accordance with the Act, remember deadlines, he or she commits an offense and shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding $30,000 or to a prison sentence not exceeding 3 years. So this is a very serious thing. Last week, the Attorney General was a guest on Issues on this station, hosted by Jamie McPhail, and they were discussing things that were to be done, the parliamentary agenda. She asked him about the integrity in public life agenda, and he said that it was done. But is it done? When the cabinet members filed their declarations together, I think it was in July, we were told that Dr. Douglas and Mr. Natta Nelson were off island and did not file with them. Had these two gentlemen filed before? If not, have they filed since? And if they were going to be off island at that time, couldn't they have filed before? July 23rd was a deadline. You could have done it before that. And what about all of those other officials who are obligated to file? Have they all filed? And have those who have not filed been able to provide reasonable cause for not having done so to the Commission? And what is to happen in the cases of those officials who have not filed? I'm not suggesting that steps be taken to try and convict them. Instead, I'm saying that this is a very serious matter and it should be given top priority, not only by and for the officials, but also by and for the Integrity Commission. Has the Commission been pushing these officials to file? Ladies and gentlemen, these are the top public officials in the country, both elected and nominated politicians on both sides on the one hand, and career public servants on the other. And if the top people are not proactive in matters like this, in matters of their own accountability and transparency, if they're not going to take this with utmost seriousness and respect, then are they fit to be where they are? And where are we going to go in a situation like this, where the highest level officials, or some of them, are abdicating their moral, ethical, and legal obligation to file their declarations? What does that say about them? And what does it say about us if we allow it? I'm not trying to demonize them. I'm trying to sensitize them and us to the importance of them filing their declarations and conducting themselves at an appropriately high level. Credibility and integrity are at stake. The very fabric of governance, which is the measure of the fabric of our society, is at stake. Integrity in public life is a must. It's not a cosmetic, but it is a substantive and meaningful thing. And the people of this country need to see it working, and they need to feel the benefits of it working. This is the cornerstone of our democracy, our economy, and our society. Good governance and transparency and accountability from the top. My second point today is, like the first, about governance. It relates to the Galaxy Company. In December 2021, the Harris cabinet approved the Galaxy Prison project as a public good project under the Citizenship by Investment program. The problem is that at the time, there was no public good option under the law. So in my opinion, the cabinet acted outside of its authority. And I think they realized that because 5 months later, in May of 2022, which was just 3 months before the election, the Harris administration introduced a standing rule and order to create the public good option, to create it 5 months after approving it in the cabinet and backdating it to December 2021. Wrong again in the law, in my opinion. To add insult to injury, the Harris administration allowed Galaxy to receive the citizenship applications. Indeed, the only role the government had to play in all of this was to process the paperwork sent to it that it would receive from Galaxy, sign the certificates, receive its money. Pretty much loose, reckless, irresponsible, and even treacherous against the best interests of the people of this country. Of course, there was one more thing the government had to do with regard to this, and I will get to it in a while. But as I said, at least in my opinion, this was clearly illegal. And it's not only my opinion. King's Counsel have shared the same opinion. I don't know what the opinion of the Attorney General is or was, but it would be good to get that opinion. And not only illegal on the basis of the retroactive thing, but also illegal because the citizenships were promoted and transacted at prices below the minimum set by law. Now I'm told that there are 1,900 Galaxy applications waiting to be signed. If the government was to sign these outstanding applications, the government and those who are involved in the signing would become complicit in breaking the law on both counts to which I referred earlier, and would be responsible for the disgrace and the suffering that falls upon our people as a result. What makes things even worse is that arrests have been made in China, and as we speak, the walls of Jericho are falling on the heads and on the freedom of some of these bad actors who have been involved in these CBI shenanigans. The news and the prospects are not good for them, and I'm not sorry for them because they have been warned. I've been warning people for the last 17 years. And their greed and their arrogance and total contempt and disrespect which they've shown to the people of this country, the robbery that they have committed against the people of this country, need to be punished. And it is coming. And as I said, I don't mean to sound vindictive, I am not, but actions have consequences. We grow up on the saying, who can't hear must feel. The sad thing about all of this is that tens upon tens of thousands of petitions and divisions, and our friends who reside here with us will be part of this suffering because of the greed, contempt, arrogance, and crookedness of some people. It is my opinion and my hope that the Prime Minister will tell Galaxy that the government will not revoke the citizenships that have already been granted, but that his administration will not grant any more because this whole thing is illegal and it has to stop somewhere. He couldn't do anything before he got into office, but he has no excuses now that he's in. The government cannot be complicit in the breaking of the law. I also hope and pray that he will tell Galaxy to pay up a significant chunk of the jail money to the government. Delinquency and law breaking must have consequences, and Galaxy has been guilty of both, and the victimization of petitions and divisions need to stop. Another worrying thing about this deal and every other citizenship arrangement involving contribution options is that for every successful application, the government has to pay a company named CS Global the handsome sum of $5,000 in some cases and $10,900 in other cases. So if those 1,900 applications get approved from your money, the taxpayers' money, the government will have to fork out from our share between $9.5 million and $20.7 million to CS Global, which has had a worldwide exclusive deal like this with our country since 2013, last updated in May 2022, 3 months before the election. CS Global has similar worldwide exclusive deals with the governments of Dominica and St. Lucia. This company has received, by my estimation, hundreds of millions of US dollars from the people of St. Kitts and Nevis over the last 10 years. Far, far more than it or any other entity should have gotten from marketing the CBI program. I don't mind engaging and paying a fair price, but not that type of money. That is depriving the people of this country of their money and wrongfully doing so. And I am offended and outraged by it. And it needs to end. And the people of this country need to know everything about that deal. I'm calling on the Prime Minister to end this deal immediately. And when you think about these things, ask yourselves whether the Prime Minister should sign off on these alleged 1,900 applications by Galaxy, illegal applications. Think of all of these millions of US dollars going, not where they're going now, but instead going into energy, water, other infrastructure, both physical and social, health, education, rebuilding our towns and our communities, climate resiliency and so. Think of all of that money going into those things for you and generations to come, rather than going to these companies, bleeding us worse than the British and the French did. It's worse because it's our own people who have been part and parcel of bleeding us over these years. This does not help us build up a strong foundation, political, economic, or social. This is not nation building. This is nation robbing. This is rape. And we the people can be accomplices in our own degradation. We have to stop it. We have to ask the questions and insist on the best standards, whether we support who is in office or not. They are in office to serve our better needs, whoever they may be, whenever they are there. And this brings me to my third point. The $1,000 per person that the government recently gave out as an independence gift adds up to about $27 million. Plus the free concert on Saturday night, maybe another $1 million. Is that the best way that the government could have spent $28 million of your money? When will all of this freeness end? It is not good for the people. People need a sustained livelihood. People need to end the dependency and entitlement culture that successive governments have encouraged and installed. We need thrift, creativity, productivity, personal and collective and national independence. Not handouts, not begging, not dependency, not entitlement, not underproductivity. This $28 million could have gone into things that would promote and sustain jobs and improve the country. The $1,000 will vanish quickly. A few businesses will benefit from it. A few persons will benefit from it, but not as much as if it were inserted into proper investments for the sustained benefit of the people of the country. We need to stop these things. So instead of continuing to nurture the mentality of underdevelopment, the government needs to break that chain and lead the charge to a new beginning, a new dawn in this land, so that our talents and resources can be mobilized and maximized, so that we'll be proud and dignified as a people, self-reliant, civic-minded. Unless that happens, there's going to be more grief, more underdevelopment, more corruption. Dr. Drew, please do what you have to do for the sake of the country and for the sake of posterity. Thank you. Greetings. The recently ended
Thank you, Brother Dwyer Astafan. That is another powerful commentary there, coming today, October 4th, 2023. And I endorse, if not all, most of what you're saying there, because if $28 million was spent, I can tell you I could find some place for that could have taken care of our nation. As a matter of fact, I start off setting up and getting my app going. I forgot to tell you folks, don't forget to share the live, please. Share the live. Let the folks know JefroyMorrishaw is live once again. Speaking about those CBI investment, the passport, my partner there now, Brother Big Lice Let me ask him how much he said. I think he said about 70,000. So let me ask Big Lice about that.
I want you all to listen to this carefully. That 70,000 passports have been sold since the start of the program. Estimated, but close to it. 70,000 passports have been sold. When I say sold, in the citizenship by investment, some people don't like to use the word sold, but 70,000 passports went through that process. 70,000 people. 70,000 passports mean that more passports were sold than our present population of local people. Basically.
So, Big Lice giving us an idea there about the amount of passport that has been sold so far. It could be more, but we have to be careful that the song that my boy Mighty Pat put together there, we are aliens in our own country. Don't be surprised if we end up in that shape. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm standing by for the Honorable Samal Duggins to join me to have a quick chit chat. So I don't want to get too deep into my programming. So while I wait for Brother Samal Duggins to join me, I got to drop this track here. It's in the true sense of the word. Don't take it personal. It's just a song, and I just love this track.
Coming up next, well, this fellow is a regular customer. We always look forward to him to give us something with humor. Singing calypso for almost 30-something years, that is a very long time. He carries the sobriquet, the funny man of calypso. Name of the song, the true sense of the word. I would like you to welcome Funny. Bring him on. Yes. There we go. Yes. What's the use of a word if you can't use it? All words were made to use as long as you don't abuse it. You see the don't say this, don't say that, that does get me vexed. Nothing's wrong with a word used in the right context. Criminal swine politics, padding pseudo-racists. They make them words because all them things do exist. You must call a snake a snake. You must call a hog a hog. What else you call a dirty rat? And a dog must be called a dog. Now they have a thing they call jackass. And I'm sure all of you have heard. It's because the place full of jackasses. And I'm talking about the true sense of the word.
The King Funny?
Tell you. He plays full of police and thief, drug addicts and bandits, lawyers and magistrates, skullduggery and plenty rackets, raper men and prostitutes, homosexual and pimps, boo-boo, dumb stupidity, and also a set of hymns, politicians and liars, it a thief, it a clowns and crooks, pancake face, all them words in the book. If you're blowing something, that's blowing. Brushing something, well, you're brushing. If you're eating saltfish, well, you're eating. And if you're screwing, then you're screwing. And if you're going, say that you're going. And you don't have to use no code. And when you come in, tell me you're coming. I'm not talking about the true sense of the word.
A lot funny.
Tell
The
you.
sense of the word.
Yeah. It have words like boomerang and boogie woogie, Kilimanjaro monk, shush kebab and sukiyaki. It have tick, tock, toe, tea, small, soft, old, thin, ban, boom, see, big, bottom, hole. It have peace and love and nice and sweet. It have virgins and it has sex. Liquor, sucker, you don't have to use pretext. It have big stones and it have balls. I know Willie and Charlie. You could either get stick or prick. They don't show nanny on TV. Well, I know the dicks and them living just down the road. So if I see Mr. Patrick could pass for a dick, I'm talking about the true sense of the word. Yeah? Tell you? The Lord funny. Yeah? Hey, funny. Tell you? Yeah? When you're going to the court to give evidence, you have to tell it just like it is. You don't have to use no pretense. If you see Sing dropping pipe all along the way, or how she named taking leather, that's what you have to say. If you see the sheriff naked and the cops have him on the run, I would like to hear how you describe the sheriff gun. It has some big Calypsonians, some monarchs and some young king. Some of them poor Calypsonian just have a little thing. But Rio de Fosto Brigo, Anatomy Bliss, I know you have heard. So we know they have plenty happiness. I'm not talking about it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Funny.
Tell you. Yeah. Check any dictionary for the true meaning. Or watch cable television. You go hear all the words I using. Word like fox, cox, hard, bone, number 2 and P, funk, drunk, skunk, monk, breast, drawers and panty. It have a word called impotent. It have tongues, men cannibal too. Use your head, Viagra cannot help you. Women throwing away babies, carnal knowledge and incest too. Men who can't take a little horn, now how could I explain you? If a female dog make a male pup, and I'm not trying to be absurd, it means that she is a bitch and he's the son of a bitch. I'm not talking about the true sense. Yeah?
Nice.
Hello?
Funny.
Let me hear it one more time.
Yes, that's the Lord funny. And my online viewers, folks, as usual, you know, JefroyMorrishaw delivers when he speaks. I told you last week I will reach out to the Honorable Samal Duggins to come and answer to some of the concerns of our citizens there. Brother Duggins, leave your screen the way it is. You're looking well. Just tap your screen, open your mic, Don't move a thing, just tap your screen and open your mic there and you're good. Don't move a thing. Tap your screen, tap the red icon, open the mic. Put the screen, no, the next way, back to where it was. Okay. Brother Duggins said 1 minute, he's working on something here. So while I wait on Brother Duggins, let me say good afternoon, good evening to some of you folks there online. I want to pick up the man Kervin Wilkin, Maxwell DeGuire, the man Thaddeus Deposwa, good evening, how you doing? Eugene Weeks, Mana Davis, James Richards, Centric Daniel, how you doing? Darlene Innes, JT Taylor, Joy Richardson, Gigi Williams Keith, how you doing? Tanya Powell, Alvan Brown, Iona Doe, Angela Doe. Hope you guys are okay. Adele McClellan, Clayton Davis, Weeks Abel Miller, how you doing? Haley Phipps, how you doing? How is things there over there in the UK? What time of the morning day is it over in that area there? What time is it, Haley? What time is it over there in Scotland? Dan Williams, Shilleen Jeffers, good evening. Cicely Brown, how are you doing? Sister Paul as well. Shirlene Jeffers. Avanel Watson, how are you doing, Sister Avanel? Haven't seen you in a bit. Hilla Brown, good evening, how are you doing? How is things in St. Thomas? Sandra Huggins, how is my girl there? Evan and Millie doing? Big up the man, Alman Carty, Alman Hutchinson, Iona Doe, Sandra Merritt, Jay Morrishaw, good evening. My son there, Jeffroy Jr. in the LA area. How is Sister Jazz? How you doing? My sister there in Tartola, Esther Hutchinson, Passad there, Brother Makish. I understand that the water is taking a blast there in the Tartola area. Hope all is well. The Honorable Lady, Her Majesty, H.E., Sister Master alive, but hope all is well with your sister. Brother Curtis Crook, good evening, hope all is well. Patrona Ballot, Celine Tobias. I think I could hear sound there, Honorable. Got you?
Yes, we're good now.
Nice. Well, you know, like I just tell him, you know, anything that can go wrong will go wrong with DJ Morrishaw, you know, so don't feel bad, you know. You know, these are the days. So, Brother Duggins, welcome to the platform. You're overdue by about a year and 6 months, but better late than ever. And as I said, you know what you're here to talk about, but before you get into the conversation, can you just give a quick synopsis of who is Samal Duggins for the online viewers?
Well, good evening and good morning wherever you are at, if that pertains to you. Tonight I'm here, Samal Duggins, and I am here in my capacity as Minister responsible for sports and the creative economy, agriculture, fisheries, marine resources, cooperatives, as well as small business and entrepreneurship. And so under that portfolio, there are a number of things that I have due care of on a national level, on the federal level, and I lead the ministries that will be executing a number of important projects for the advancement of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm happy to be here tonight in that capacity to share with the country, you know, where these ministries are at and what we are doing and how we plan to advance St. Kitts and Nevis beyond 2023 into a sustainable island state in the future. And here I am.
Well, thank you, Honorable Duggins. When I slip up and say Samal, you know where we're coming from, so no disrespect.
Yes.
It just come that way sometime, you know, just like you could say Morrishaw, DJ Morrishaw, it doesn't matter. It's all about making sure that we're on the same page. Now, as I said to you during my conversation last week, and I want to thank you for responding so quickly to the concern of the people, is that folks is concerned about why our little nation, St. Kitts Nevis, did not bid for the upcoming World Cup in 2024. So let's start there. We can go into other conversation, but let's deal with that matter since it's hot on the burner here in the meantime.
Yes, I have done a number of interviews regarding this, DJ Morrishaw, And I'm happy to do this one as well, because I believe we need to inform our people as much as we can on decisions made by the government. You know, not every decision that the government makes, everyone would readily understand nor agree with in some cases. But of course, we elect a government for a reason. And the government has a purview of a number of different documents or even the information that comes to the government. And we make decisions according to all the data, all the statistics that we have available. And like St. Kitts and Nevis, a number of other Caribbean countries did not bid. And a number of them would have outlined their reason. And likewise, you see an alignment across those that did not bid. And in our case, more particularly, we did not bid for the main games because when we weighed the cost-benefit analysis, we recognized that St. Kitts and Nevis could achieve its objective somewhat. And where we were in terms of our venues, the readiness, the time, the finances, we recognize that we have an agenda, a national sports agenda that we're trying to achieve. And we recognize in doing that, we had to really allocate the budgets according to the agenda. And that was concerned. Bidding for the main games just did not fit into that unless we made some significant shifts in that agenda. And that meant that we would have to basically move away from some of the plans that we had for some other sporting endeavors. We just recently conducted a successful CPL, and it's an arena where the government spends significant money to host CPL. And we plan to continue doing that. And so I want people to understand that this isn't an attack on cricket at all. In fact, I would have loved to be the minister that brought the World Cup here, yes, but at what cost? And so sometimes when you weigh the cost benefit, you have to make tough decisions. And this is just one of them. But I guarantee you it's in the best interest of all, you know. And I understand the passion of the cricket enthusiasts, and I share that passion. But I also share the passion of the football fraternity, the netball fraternity, track and field fraternity. I also share the passion of those in bodybuilding and volleyball and all the other sports. That's just a few sports, basketball, who are saying that they need a facility that at least they can play basketball when rain is coming. Never in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis has that happened. And so when are we going to do that? And we committed to do that during this term, and I stand on that commitment. And so these are tough decisions that we have to make as a government. And the truth is, when you sit in the seat, you have to face the decisions you make, and you have to face the opinions of the public. And like I said before, I know the job that I've signed up for. And so I'm here to, put to the public the reality. Again, you have some agendas that would have peddled one way or another their own speculation, politically motivated or otherwise. But the facts are the facts. And it's not just St. Kitts alone that's saying that. We had as big as Jamaica echoing the same sentiment. And so, it's not just a pie in the sky,
Yeah, I appreciate you coming forth and presenting it to the people. As I said to the folks last week, I understand their concern, and I'll reach out to you and invite you here. And I expect you to come and give the facts straight as it is. And in my view, the government, as you say, have a job to do. And as long as the ministers, whatever decision is made, whether in cabinet or otherwise, tell the general public what is happening, they will accept and move on. It's the lies and the spinning sometimes that create problems for us. So in lieu of not having the main games, I know you spoke about some benefits from the World Cup. So could you get into that and let the folks know the other
Yes,
issues?
of course. So, the objective was never to be totally left out of the World Cup activity. As you recognize, the World Cup is a huge endeavor, and there are a lot of other areas that we felt we could have fit in. And through discussions, we are seeing areas that we are likely to be able to benefit. And one of those areas has been discussed, and I have to say that because it's not finally ratified, but we were thinking of ourselves hosting the warm-up games, right? And that is something that seems to be a favorable possibility going forward. And with the warm-up games, as being discussed. You may see somewhere around the country's hosting 4 to 10 or more teams, each team playing 2 games. And so if we consider that, let us just say we host 10 teams, each team playing 2 games. Basic maths would say 20 games, but bearing in mind that some teams will play against each other, so it'll be a little bit less than that. But even that is significant. These teams will be on island for anywhere between 10 to 21 days. That's hotels, that's transport, that's food, that's recreation on the off days, that's economic activity. And then you have the media that will follow these games, because make no mistake about it, these games will be broadcast to the world. And so when we really weighed where we are, where we want to go, we thought that this was not a bad idea. And then we have the St. Kitts Music Festival that happens on the same weekend that the World Cup is finishing. So we are looking at that being the after party, so to speak, of the World Cup. And so again, there's another benefit that could be derived possibly from the World Cup. And with that, like, what are we in it for? When you consider that, we are in it for the economic spin-off, right? Significant economic spin-off.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you really get down to the nuts and bolts, you recognize that, okay, we could get significant economic spin-off by playing our role in this sector. And, while we continue to upgrade our facilities, because this is not a call to say we are not going to do it. But let's consider that the World Cup starts, the warm-up session start next year, May. 7-8 months away.
Yeah.
So you understand that you would have to get everything done and ready and prepared to be ready for that time. And so when we consider the time factor, the cost factor, it's just one of those things that you have to make a tough decision. This is one of those. And I believe that in time, people would recognize that this decision was made in the interest of the country. And, we don't stand to lose significantly, if any at all.
Sometimes when I listen to our people speaks, I think we either have convenient memory or some kind of amnesia. Because as I reflect, while you're speaking, I'm reflecting on the past year plus, because as most people will know, election was constitutionally during the 2025. We went into early election on August 5th, 2022. We are here now just over 12 months. And I know the struggles that you guys went through to attain the campaign and by extension get elected. I was in the trenches, so I know I have a pretty good idea. But I don't want the people to hear it from me. I want to hear it from you. From the campaign to the results to all of everything that you have found out now that you're in office and where you are. Give us a feel, from your lens, what your experience have been.
Well, I mean, a lot of it I could speak to, but some of it is quite public. We just had track season a few months ago, and the entire country was in an uproar about the condition of the Kimpton College facility, right? Yeah. Now, that facility needs an entire overhaul. That's the same budget in sports that we have to consider whether or not to do that or a tournament for 2 weeks. Again, I mentioned basketball. The entire country is complaining about the condition of basketball city. Now, let's bear in mind, Kim Collins had not received any significant upgrade for the last 10 years, right? And so now that falls on this administration. And as the minister responsible, that falls on my ministry, and as the one leading the ministry, that falls on me, right? Basketball, same thing. Netball, very similar circumstance. Volleyball needs a home. Handball, table tennis. All of these sports require football. All these sports require us to do some significant upgrades. And we're just looking, even if we just look at the premier facilities, they are all in a deplorable state, all of them. I don't think any of our facilities would have received significant upgrades in anywhere within the last 4 or 5 years. And if any, maybe a touch of paint. but there's serious infrastructural upgrades that need to be had to our facilities. And so to be in that position, I have to make decisions because it's the same budget. Cricket doesn't have a budget separate to football. Football doesn't have a budget separate to basketball. And then when you consider we have outlying fields in nearly every village that also need upgrading, that's also the responsibility of the Ministry of Sports. And then we have teams that travel every year. We just had our Special Olympians going to the Special Olympics. We had to support that team. We had our athletes going to a number of sporting meets during the year. We have to support them. This is all from the same budget. And so sometimes as we speak, I understand the passion because I share the passion. And again, I would have loved to have done it, but at what cost? And when considered, then you have to make the decision for the best future that you want to see for the country.
Now, I know we're speaking about sport, but as you speak about these facilities that are owned by the government that is in bad shape, that need repair, it is not just sports that are within your ministry. As I walk around the island, I drive around the island, you can see the situation with the police station, the health centers, the hospital is in a mess. So if I were to vote to bid on the Cricket World Cup 2024, and one was to ask me what to do with those funds, I'll also put on a new roof on the hospital at JNF. That's priority.
But that's it. And especially when considered that we are not totally left out. So this is really just, okay, one game is bigger than the other, but we're going to get significant economic impact off of what we have either way. Look at the virtue of our size, like St. Kitts and Nevis is a small nation. And so based on the size of the World Cup, a practice match will be a huge thing for our size and country.
For sure.
And so when you consider what you're saying and you add that to the equation, you start realizing the line in which our thought patterns had to go to make this decision, right?
For sure. You know, some of this talking in the pub that I listen to, right? As I have said, it might not be a big deal to some people, but sometimes it might not make a difference. But the ministers have a lot on their hands. There's a lot of citizens to cover. There's a lot of work to be done. But everybody wants to feel the minister. I said that to say this. I was speaking to someone, one of the groundsmen, and when they were speaking about the cricket situation, it went from talking about bidding for the cricket to not being able to meet with the Minister of Sports. And my question to you, had you had the opportunity to meet with the groundsmen throughout the island that is taking care of the cricket facility and the football facility?
I've met with a number of them, yes. I can't stand here and say that I have met with every single one, but I've met with a number of them, yes. And, you know, the whole idea is that you try to meet with everybody. When you consider the Ministry of Sports, I mean, the groundsmen, there's quite a number of them around the country. Then you have the coaching staff, quite a number of those as well. And then you have the administrative staff, and that's just one department. Then you have the creative economy, and then you have agriculture, and then you have cooperatives, and then you have small business. And even in agriculture, you have the Department of Agriculture, you have the Department of Fisheries, you have, so you understand, right? And then you have a constituency, and then you have the entire country, right? And so it's never a matter of like, one of the policies I have, like I try to see everybody. So everybody that comes, we note, and when I get a chance, I either call or invite them in for a meeting, and I try to see everybody. Now, that's a blessing and a curse, right? Because if 1,000 people want to see you, you just don't have enough time in the day to see 1,000 persons.
All right.
But you try to plow through that list as much as you can, and over time, you try to accomplish the task. But the reality is sometimes, you know, like you wish you could just see everybody, because for me, that's the part of the politics that I love. I love, you know, addressing people and dealing with the realities. But it's only 24 hours of my day, you know. It's the same day as everyone else.
You know, I appreciate the answer that you give, because basically I have been singing the same tune to these folks. Yes, there's a lot to be done. for a government that is only what, 12, 13 months old compared to
30, yes.
a 7-year-old government that created a mess here. It's not about making excuses, but only about so much you can do in 13 months. So give you guys a chance that you can work your way around. And basically, I am of the view, I could be wrong. I believe that when you guys took over these offices after you were elected, you made worse than you anticipated. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
you know,
For sure.
yeah.
You know, everything was in a mess. The whole service was, you know, like processes were out of whack. Everything was in a total mess. And we had to realign a number of these processes, pull things together, even the alignment of the ministries. You had, like, let's say the creative economy, which we created since we've been here. You had entertainment and talent development in one ministry attached to a certain sector. And then you had the Ministry of Culture dealing with another section of that, both of them operating in their own space and against each other when they had the same mandate almost. And so we recognize, like, why do you have all these competing ministries trying to achieve the same thing? And we had to realign a number of things, and now we see the synergies working. I mean, Miami Carnival is this weekend, and I'm proud to say that I don't think there's ever been as many local talent being featured in Miami Carnival as this time, ever. And I'm proud to be the minister behind some of that movement, right? So this is the kind of thing that we're here for, to really advance St. Kitts and Nevis in a real way, not just talk. Like, this is tangible, this is factual that you can put your hands on.
Definitely, I know it's a lot of work in that regard, and I'm happy that in short space of time that you guys are really taking to Miami. But I also have said time and time again, New York Labor Day is bigger than any place else, whether
Right.
Miami, Boston, or wherever, and it has been left dormant. And when I look at the countries like the Antigua and the Barbados and the Haiti and these people that are represented on Eastern Parkway, we need to make sure that St. Kitts get back that spotlight, because we want you on that road.
And this is what we try to do ultimately, right? But again, you know, as you take one step, there's always another mountain to climb. And, you know, right now we have really put forward, because on my campaign trail, I told them our people will be touring, will be out there touring the world. And here we are, 1 year in, having the largest contingent of local artists going to Miami ever. Here we are having our cultural ambassador, DJ Terror, touring the world. Actually, after Miami Carnival, he's headed over to Portugal.
Great.
Right? So here we have Byron Messiah touring the world. Here we have Nietzsche be out there touring. And so, you know, to be able to stand on your commitments and within 1 year is a significant feat. Now, can the government be expected to deliver its entire mandate in 12, 13 months? No. But then I look at things through multiple lenses, right? Let's look at it. The people elected us because we gave them the hope that we understood what to do and we will get the job done. And they believed that, and they elected us. And we're here and we're getting the job done. Like I said, in 1 year, we've managed to achieve that. But at the same time, it's about managing that hope, to recognize that while we are getting the job done, it cannot all be done in 12 to 13 months.
All right.
You know, we have a 5-year mandate, and we will endeavor to have it done within that 5-year mandate. And at the end of the day, you know, we hope to come back to the people at that point in time and say, look, we committed to you in 2022 to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and here we are. We've accomplished that and put a new mandate to the people, and hopefully the people will believe in that mandate and move it forward just the same way. Because you have a dedicated team of elected officials working diligently, I can tell you. The Honorable Marsha is working diligently in tourism, and you see the hard work that she's putting in to tourism. The Honorable Congress Maynard, I mean, the fight that he's putting up in ensuring that we have energy and water and that our roads are being fixed, amidst all the challenges that he would have met. Like, these are the things that we really commit ourselves to. I mean, you heard the Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, who said that he is prepared to start building a brand new hospital. something that has not been done since the major renovation of JNF, I would say, a major national hospital like that. That was what, 1990, what, 6, 7?
I think 98, 99, somewhere around
Okay,
there
so
started.
somewhere.
I think the last work was done there in 2001.
Okay, so you understand, right? And then you have someone like the Honorable Jeffrey Hadley, Deputy Prime Minister, who's working on the Bastia High School as we speak, something that has been a matter since 2013, 14, thereabout. And so these are the things that would have been left abandoned or neglected to some degree. And we are all trying to make sure that our people get the best of everything. We are trying to make sure, and we are here. I'm also, as we talk about the creative arts, a creative arts center. I'm also working at that. And we have the creative arts center that is set to be built, and we're working at delivering that. And so there's a lot of work being done. And we have only been here for 13 months within a 5-year mandate. Interestingly, I read an article coincidentally going through my phone, an article came up from the campaign regarding the creative economy and a number of commitments that the article was about, some commitments that I would have made on the platform. And surprisingly, reading that article, nearly 80% of those commitments are already on the go within 13 months. I'll share that article with you at some point.
Okay. One of the things that you spoke about on the campaign trail, and I've been hearing the cry since I've been in the Federation, is that small business is not doing too well. Do you have anything to say on that?
Yes, the small business sector, again, was a sector that wasn't really well coordinated in terms of the government's approach to it. And we created a whole ministry just dedicated to small businesses. I'm happy to say that ministry, because it was a new ministry, we had to find an appropriate space and decorate and design the space. And, again, as with anything, you have your challenges here and there. But small businesses now currently into their new space, and you'll be hearing a lot more about them. They had an official launch just a month ago, thereabout. I think it was the end of August, sorry. They had a launch at the end of October. And, I think they're off to a good start as a new ministry. And within that launch, they launched their 40/40 grant program, which was a grant program in celebration of the 40th anniversary of independence. We have 40 nationals and 40 small businesses will receive a grant toward their business development in celebration of the 40th anniversary of independence. They are also, I know, working diligently with the Development Bank to help them facilitate the 2.5% interest loan, one of the lowest loans you'll find around for small business development. And I know they're also working with the National Bank to develop a similar facility, maybe even lower, if all goes well. But these are the things that the ministry is doing, making sure that you have access to finance, making sure that you have training. They've done monthly training sessions for our small businesses. The last one was with Miss Shannon Harley on marketing, and you had a huge amount of persons there, and surprisingly, a large amount of young women were in the room. And these are the things that we are doing. So I think the ministry is off to a good start. But again, it's only been 13 months. And to imagine to turn around a situation that was dire in such a short time, I don't think anybody would think that would be a reasonable burden to place on a new ministry, right?
Correct. Speaking of the small business, I'm speaking to you from a federal level. So my question would be, this small business sector, it would be reaching across to Nevis as well?
Yes, a number of the activities. I mean, as you know, we have a unique governing structure. And Nevis has its own government, so to speak, if you would call it that, the Nevis Island Administration. And they take care of their own affairs in a number of areas. There are some areas that are completely federal, and we try to, where we can, collaborate. I could tell you that in the areas of, let's say, even culture and agriculture, we collaborate significantly with Nevis because the ministries have a certain synergy. And we are trying in every area to make sure that we have that strong collaboration across the channel. Because again, the thing is a Nevis, but it's one federation. You know, it's one country.
Yeah.
Two land masses separate. And I wouldn't even want to say separated, but connected by a channel.
Connected by everything, by blood and
That's
sweat
right.
and tears. Everything, we are fully connected. But
That's
I know,
right.
I know there are people listening, and there are some small business people online. So I don't want, when this program is over, they are misguided. That's why I asked the question specifically if the 40 project that is together, that was put together for 40, you said, small business personnel, is that across the board or just for St. Kitts?
Well, the application was open. We sent it out. The application timeframe is closed now. We had quite a number of applicants. I think for that 40, we had maybe well over 200 applicants. And I mean, it shows on one end, it shows
and it was open. It was open across the board federally.
It was open, yeah.
Okay.
So anybody
Okay.
could have applied.
Okay.
Of course, each application will be evaluated, but anybody could have.
I understand that. I am asking the questions because remember, when I get on the street and I gonna get attacked, they're telling me your government, you know, that is where I am poached. Your government this, your government that, and
it's all of our government.
I tell them that. I tell them it's our government, it's our prime minister, and at the end of the day, I know that you guys will not make the mistake of the previous administration to bullshit people, and I call it straight like it is. I heard the cry about small business. I heard the cry about some people applying for loans and did not get the necessary response that they would like. And like I said to them all the time, you know, if you apply for whatever way you think you should be qualified for this area and you did not get the results you're looking for, you reach out to the minister. They're accessible. I keep saying to them, when I send you a message, you respond to me. So I consider you accessible. So I would say to the small business person, I'll go to the channel. If they're where your office located, the small business office, yeah?
It is at Port Zante.
Port Zante. You have a phone number, anything there, folks can get it if you have that information. Well, you could try to get somebody to bring it to you or something. Just so that folks will know where to go. Because from my perspective, you guys have done a marvelous job in the past 12, 13 months. But for the people that drop through, you know, people always drop through the crack, not because you want to miss them or they don't want to be a part of. It's just the way of life. Things happens. And when people cry out, we have to respond positively, not cursing them, but positively respond to them. So,
and it's not like I always believe, a lot of times people, you know, just need a little bit of guidance because it's usually a misunderstanding, you know, and again, the interest alone speaks to passion, and it's all of our country. It's all of the government belongs to everybody. And I'm a firm believer in that. So I never look at it as, even the aggressive ones, yes, you would wish that they would have a bit more control over their emotions. But they're passionate about their country. And so we just ask them, let's put that passion to productive and positive use, and let's move forward, you know? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, well, that's the right approach. Speaking about fisheries, do you have anything on fisheries?
Yes, we've been doing some work in that sector. You see, the fishery sector is a sector, again, that has had some neglect as well, significant neglect. And a lot of that neglect is in guidance and proper planning. We have fished our coastal waters for far too long and almost overfished our waters. And then when you add climate change and pollution and all of that, you've seen a significant reduction in the amount of fish. Now our fishermen are faced to go further out to sea. And so we are now trying to make sure that we make every provision for their safety, for one, because the further out you go, the more dangerous it becomes. And also to make sure that we put everything in place, you know, improving their boats, communication, improving that, putting out more fats. That's something that we're working on diligently. Fish aggregating devices, because that provides a fishing ground for our fishermen.
Right.
We're trying to put more fats out so that we create more fishing grounds within our waters. And these are the things that we are really actively working on. And again, we have a campaign for the fisheries sector that's going to launch pretty soon. And you'll hear a lot more of what the fisheries sector is going to be doing. And you'll be seeing some of that effect being felt. I know we've been discussing with a number of international organizations and governments, friendly governments, who have pledged their support. You know, most recently, we've had discussions with, you know, countries like Japan and others who want to help. And we're looking forward to that support and advancing our fishery sector significantly over the next couple of years. Yes.
And let's speak a bit about farming. I know during your campaign, you were speaking about some 25 by 2025. I think that is one of your babies. So you should have some information to give us on that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I wasn't speaking on that during the campaign because I did not know about it during the campaign. Interesting.
Okay.
This is something that started since 2020, and the country was pretty much unaware. And that's the truth about that. I learned about that because 2 days after we were sworn in, there was a heads of government meeting in Trinidad. And the Prime Minister, because it was an agriculture base, he asked that I attend on his behalf. And that's where I learned about the 25 by 25. And that is something that CARICOM has been pushing. And I brought that back to St. Kitts and Nevis to be a part of CARICOM's agenda because, one, we needed to advance agriculture. And two, I believe that we well positioned to do it. Right now, I see significant strides being made. And I believe that by 2025, St. Kitts and Nevis will be in a position to stand tall and say we were successful in meeting with CARICOM that 25 by 25 agenda. We have identified a number of crops that we intend to focus on. We've identified a number of areas within livestock that we intend to focus on. And also we've been looking at markets locally and expanding that, and markets regionally as well, because I am set to make St. Kitts a net exporter. So beyond improving our condition to 25%, reducing our food bill to 25%, I also want to make sure that there are a number of items that we can export more readily, and that our farmers could really benefit and not, you see, for too long, we've seen farming in one line. And I want to speak on that because we've been at the bottom of the value chain. We were always just the planter, the laborer, the bottom of the value chain. But what we need to understand is that agriculture has a huge value chain. It's connected to everything. So at the base of medicine is agriculture. At the base of everything is agriculture. And if we understand that, then we understand the value that we have here in St. Nevis. And when we talk 25 by 25, what we're really saying is that with a $200 million food bill, we want to keep $50 million in the hands of farmers. And so we are asking our farmers to put their hands to the wheel, so to speak, so that we could retain that $50 million on the island and share it among the farming community. And that's really what the 25 by 25 agenda is. And I don't see anybody who would say they're not interested in retaining $50 million and sharing it amongst farmers. And so we've been just mapping out an effective way of achieving that.
Last week, I had a conversation with someone who interested in farming and said that he was farming some private lands or whatever. And I think he said that the government is involved in some greenhouse erection, and he wanted to get one put on his property, and he was told that these greenhouses have to be on government land, not private lands. Any truth to that?
So there's some truth to that, and I want to speak to that. So we have a number of greenhouses on the island, but our approach, and it's not just our approach, in fact, in speaking with the president of Guyana about the agriculture sector, they are taking the same approach as well. We've decided to do we call it greenhouse villages. They have a different term for theirs. If I remember it correctly, they have a different term that they call, I don't remember it correctly, but it's the same concept though. We have greenhouses in a cluster so that you could have centralized support services, refrigeration, technical support, energy, water storage, and you create a synergy among farmers by having them clustered. So the greenhouses that we are purchasing currently are for that purpose. Once we would have satisfied that purpose, then of course.
It makes sense. Like I said, people, when they don't get the right information, that's what happens. If you don't get the correct information, you're going to spill false assumptions. But I understand what you're saying. That makes sense.
So that's the idea, and then once we would have achieved that, then of course we want to, because you see, for me, the more greenhouses we have, the more active greenhouses that is, the more greenhouses we have on the production, and the more food we could produce.
Right.
And again, that's the objective. I want to see St. Kitts and Nevis shipping containers of food overseas. And we're only going to achieve that by planting. So we're not here trying to stifle any farmer from having anything that could make him more productive. But we have to coordinate it and have a systematic and a very strategic approach as to how best we could attain what we need to attain.
Makes sense. So if there's anyone who's interested in farming and the government has these greenhouses and are putting them out, is there a process where they can lease and operate the greenhouse?
That's the idea. So we want them to be leased to our farmers. We are hoping that these farmers will come also as a cooperative or farmer cooperative, and so that you have an organized body to manage these greenhouses, and that we could train these people and have them be excellent producers of food. Because at the end of the day, this is about them. And my success is theirs.
How do one register, sign up to get that?
At the Department of Agriculture or the Ministry of Agriculture, and you come and register your interest. And we plan to build a series of them throughout the island. The first one, we started preparing the lands already, and that's down in the Whitegate area. Okay. We should be having a ceremony in just over a week, where we will display what it is look like and have a full launch ceremony and start erecting the greenhouses. We were waiting a bit because, of course, we just came out of the hurricane season. And well, we're still in it.
I'm just about to say we're still in the hurricane season.
We're still in it, but we are looking to start now to start erecting on the tail end of the hurricane season and get some of that going.
Is there any online process for one to register who might have interest?
At this point, unfortunately not, but that's a good idea. And I would talk to the ministry to try and have that, something done.
Yeah, because you might have somebody listening in Tortola, in Australia, in England, who say, man, this is a great opportunity. I would like to take part in this, and
And we also invite in private investment, because at the end of the day, someone may say, look, I could invest in a concept and in an entire village, right? So we also invite private investment in that, because producing St. Kitts is producing St. Kitts. So, we want that.
I like the conversation you're having in regards to export, because I have a cousin there in the Virgin Islands. He operates between St. Thomas and Tortola. And he was here over the Christmas with his wife, and we was driving around. And he's saying, Jeffroy, you guys have a lot of lands here, and if the farmers get involved in agriculture, we could provide right to a supermarket in Tortola. We could provide many of the people within the region, St. Martin, looking for supplies, and you're getting the real deal. So once the farmers in the federation really serious about this thing, there is a lot of outlets out there where you can export to.
And you're so right. I've myself gone to Tortola and had discussions about supplying entities in Tortola. I've gone to St. Martin and had conversations, even up to the government level. We are looking to become a steady supplier of food to St. Martin as well. And I've gone to a number of other countries where we've been negotiating, different areas of support back and forth. And even within the OECS, we are looking at how we trade food among ourselves as well. And we are developing our fast strategy in the OECS. And this is part of our own agenda to make sure that we become more self-sufficient in food production as a region. Because so often we see ourselves as just single islands and not recognizing that we are more alike than different. And if we band together,
we are a community. This region, exactly. We are a community.
We just need to band together and share, and we'll see the impacts of that.
Yeah, the independence season is over. We are now heading into Thanksgiving and right into Sugar Mass. How things coming with the Sugar Mass, plans for Sugar Mass?
Well, as you see, Sugar Mass launched early this year. Last year we got it in August, and we had some delays, and Sugar Mass was a little late in getting off, naturally. But this year now we had a nice handle on things, and the Queen contestants are already out. Music already being released as early as August, September, right? So once there's a saying that once the Queen's out early, it's gonna be exceptional Sugar Mass. So I think that speaks to everything that's about to happen.
Well, I could say from my behalf that from the musical end of it, you're gonna have a great Calypso season. We got some guys coming in from the diaspora, coming out of St. Croix. You got the Mighty Pat. Coming out of the New York area, you got Green Tea, Glenn Green and King Creddy, Elvis Williams with some heavy hitting songs. So I know it's going to be nice. I hope you are as anxious as me to hear.
For sure.
Yeah, so looking forward to it.
Last year, Sugar Mass, notwithstanding all the challenges, the statistics showed that for Juve morning, we had the largest amount of troops. For Parade Day was the largest parade day ever. Largest amount of troops, most participation. And, we're just hoping that this year is bigger and better in every way.
How I look at Sugar Mass last year, overall, everything from the Juve to the parade and everything that took place. It reminds me of the days of when my grandmother had the dog Ty and the nag of the house, and you let it go for a bit and it just jump up. Everybody went wild last year. It was bottom on the road. So, last year was just mass. And I look forward to see what happened this year. It's only one thing that I really would like to see get under control is because I have heard the conversation in Parliament. I have heard you guys make a presentation about the making the, what you call it? Some call it ganja, some call it the herb, legal. Well, some people just need to really be considerate of where they're smoking and control themselves. Because to me, the same way you're gonna have someone drinking alcohol and driving reckless on the road, I think you could have someone smoking too much of that and cause the same problem. Too much of anything is not good. So I have been monitoring what's taking place, and I see some of the young men really acting out. So I know you guys have your hands full in that regard.
Well, what we actually would have done, and like you said, you were paying attention, is decriminalize a certain amount, and also constitutionally to set the agenda straight. Because remember that there was a judgment that outlined that persons had a right within the confines of their private property to use for religious or other purposes. Once it got in public, we also legislated for that as well, where if you're going to smoke in public, you have to be in a designated smoker zone, which would have taken into consideration, the health and well-being of others who may not want to partake in the smoke. And so we did a very comprehensive legislative agenda on that to protect our people, one, the non-smokers, and to protect the persons who had the right to use. I mean, we see that going as far back as our Rastafarian community, who would have been dealt a great deal of injustice based on their own sacramental use of the plant. And so to me, we had to bring justice to that community and others, because it's your fundamental right. If you want to stay in your household and that is your own sacrament, then by all means do that. But just recognize and respect that not everyone has the same opinion. And so I give huge votes of compliment to the Honorable Attorney General, who did a very good job in that comprehensive overview of our acts regarding smoking, possession of cannabis, and also medical cannabis, which is something that we are rolling out shortly with our new medicinal cannabis authority that will be launched before the year's end. Yes.
But Duggins, you set a record here now. We've been speaking for almost an hour without a break. So I know you had another engagement to
yes,
attend.
I do.
So
I have a history session going on because we're about to launch a mural project, and we are giving our artists a history session so that they could incorporate our island's history in their artistic pieces for their murals. So look out for that project coming on stream as of next week.
Nice. So, well, I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak on any other topic that you would like to speak. And again, I want to thank you and I appreciate you taking the time to come at short notice and being forthright in the conversation. And I am pretty sure when you get a chance, check the thread. Folks would appreciate you coming and being honest and upfront about the current situation.
Yes, like I said, my role here is to make sure that we provide all the information to the public as we can. Sometimes I think people may not understand, but the delay in some of this communication is because we can't jump ahead of the organizing bodies. It was only not the weekend past, the one before that, ICC and CWI would have announced the venues. I couldn't go ahead of them and speak, right?
Makes sense.
And so as of the week now, I've been on radio speaking shortly after they announced it. And people saying we should have spoken earlier. But should I jump ahead of CWI and speak?
You can.
Exactly. And so sometimes people may not understand the dynamics, but again, it's part of it. It's part of leadership. It's a tough role, and I've been elected to do it. And I would never shy away from the responsibilities of leadership. And I wanted people to know that. And I could say the same for the rest of my cabinet. We make tough decisions when we have to, but I could guarantee all decisions that we make are in the best interest of all the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I say that knowing that some people may not agree, but that's part of leadership. And I'm happy to be in such a wonderful cabinet where I know everyone in that cabinet has the interest of this country at heart. Everyone in this cabinet works long, hard hours to ensure that they attempt to make the best decisions in the best interest of the people. And I'm happy to be a part of that. And I will continue working, as with the cabinet, to make sure that we deliver our mandate in this 5-year term. And at the end of the 5 years, present ourselves to the people again with a new mandate, and let the people know that they could always have confidence in a strong and vibrant Labour Party, a strong and vibrant government of St. Kitts and Nevis.
What I can say to you, you have an open invitation here. You have an avenue whenever you want to update your people. Let the people know what's going on. As I've said to every other minister, when stuff are out there in the atmosphere, in the communities, ignoring them is not the way. It's to come and let the people know.
Correct. So, Agreed.
So I appreciate you taking the time out. Thanks for coming. And I'll follow up with you. Have a safe evening, and I look forward to seeing you at some point.
All right, and thank you for this interview. It's been a wonderful time. And to your listeners and your audience, I want to say good evening or good morning or whatever pertains. And thank you for listening. And I do hope that the country understands that I wish I could do more in that regard. But given the scope of what needed to be done across the board, I had to make a responsible and conscious decision for all involved. Thank you again, and good. Have a wonderful day.
All right, sir. Have a good evening. Well, folks, that was the Honorable Samal Duggins chatting about the happenings there under his ministries, his various ministries. And I just want to thank him, his cabinet, and the government at large to continue doing the works of the people. As we continue this evening, I'm going to drop that second commentary from the G.A. Dwyer Astafan from last Wednesday. This again is another powerful commentary. We may not be able to go directly into all of the program that I have planned for this evening, because I think it was important to have Brother Samal Duggins come and talk to you, the people. So we're going to bring in an address there by the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, and a couple of other clips. But before we go there, let's take a listen to the G.A. Dwyer Astafan commentary from last Wednesday. Stand by.
Greetings. The recently ended 40th anniversary of independence seemed to create a bit of a stir. In his official address, Prime Minister Drew borrowed a quote from the man whom he described as our first national hero and father of the nation, Sir Robert Bradshaw. And in the drone show, the image of Mr. Bradshaw was displayed, but the images of the other four declared national heroes were not displayed. PAM supporters saw this as disrespectful towards Dr. Simmons, and the argument started. In the thick of it, a gentleman called me and asked if I could explain the terms father of the nation and father of independence, and the differences, if any. I don't think there are any differences. But let us have a look back into history and see who we believe is truly deserving of being called father of the nation or father of independence. The Workers' League was formed in 1932, 91 years ago, later to be named the Labour Party. Its major goal, as set out in Article 2 of its constitution, was to achieve and maintain political independence. And from the get-go, the Workers' League set about its task, step by step, but deliberate and progressive. The struggles in the 1930s led to great progress. Elections in 1937, albeit with less than 1,500 registered voters, because universal adult suffrage had not reached yet. That would come as the struggle continued. But it was the first election held in the country since 1877. Workers' unions came to be legalized, as were political parties. In 1946, Robert Bradshaw first got into the legislature, contesting unopposed, along with Morris Davis and Joseph France. But remember, just the legislature, important as it was, not the executive. So they were not running the country, but they could articulate the aspirations and concerns and issues of the ordinary folks in the halls of Parliament. So the forward march continued. In 1952, universal adult suffrage. In 1957, Paul Southwell ran successfully and proved over the years to be a very able and resourceful number two man for Mr. Bradshaw, even acting as chief minister when Mr. Bradshaw was in Trinidad in the federal government. It was also in 1957 that the Democratic Party, the voice of the plantocracy and big business, and the forerunner of PAM contested their first election. They were determined to stop the progress of the masses to prosperity and independence. They wanted the status quo as best they could to remain. Independence for the people and for the country was not on their menu. Similarly, for their successor, PAM. Also beginning with the 1957 elections, it was no longer the Workers' League contesting, but the Labour Party. In the 1960s, the march forward picked up pace. Our healthcare system was improved remarkably with the construction of the General Hospital, Jean France Hospital, and some strategically placed clinics around the country. The first high school located out of the capital of any English-speaking territory in the Caribbean was opened at Sandy Point, St. Kitts. Universal access to a free education was made available, so the daughters and sons of cane cutters and so-called ordinary folks were now able to go to high school and beyond and become professionals, which is important for people aspiring to and striving for prosperity and independence. I'll speak about that a little later on to show how the People's Action Movement was an obstacle to people going to Cuba to become professionals and come back and serve their country and build the human product and build a nation. But with the universal access to a secondary education here, the higher-ups in society pulled their children from the public school system, those who were in, and shipped them off to schools overseas. They didn't want their children mixing with working-class children. Hotels were built and put into operation. A manufacturing sector was introduced, and we became the top manufacturing territory in the OECS. We saw the beginning of local banking. So all in all, an economy beyond sugar was being established, as was the platform for a new independent society. Physical and social infrastructure being put in place. Provident Fund was put in place to protect our people as a savings for them on a rainy day. The People's Action Movement and their friends opposed it, as they later did in the 70s with Social Security, saying that these things were socialism and communism and constituted the government taking our people's money. A system that is designed to provide security and stability in your old age. The workers of the country, PAM and their friends, were against it. Legislation to protect workers' rights was passed and put into practice. Again, much of it opposed by PAM and their members and friends. While all of this was happening under the leadership of Robert Bradshaw, the planters and their minions opposed. They argued against the Provident Fund and, as I said, Social Security. They were so upset with the progress that was being made and the march to independence under the leadership of Mr. Bradshaw that just a year after PAM was formed and contested unsuccessfully their first election, they were part of a failed attempt to overthrow the Bradshaw government. This set back the country very badly. This happened in June of 1967, just months after we achieved statehood, local rule, but England still in charge of our foreign affairs and defense. Concrete signs of progress. Months after attempted coup, setting the country back. In the 70s, we saw the beginning of the Frigate Men development on land formerly owned by the Wigley family, acquired by the government. The Wigley family being one of the largest landholding families in the country. The objective of the Frigate Bed development was to insert the cornerstone of the tourism industry in the country. PAM opposed it. Socialism and communism is how they would refer to it. We saw the acquisition of the sugar lands in 1975 on behalf of the people, which PAM also opposed. Mr. Bradshaw got an independent estimate of the value of the lands at somewhere around 10 million, but he graciously added a couple of million and offered about 12, which the planters and PAM opposed. And when PAM got in 1980, they paid the sugar barons well over $20 million for the lands, robbing the poor to further enrich the rich, robbing the descendants of the enslaved to further enrich the descendants of the enslavers. And PAM chose to be on the wrong side of that issue. Billy Herbert and Dr. Simmons were there leading. We saw Mr. Bradshaw secure an independence mandate in 1975, robustly opposed by PAM and by the NRP Nevis, which was established for one purpose, for Nevis to secede. And after shepherding this country, this place, for 32 years, Mr. Bradshaw died. 2 years later, we had the 1980 election, which PAM and NRP won as a coalition. But in that election, they vehemently opposed independence. Let me tell you a little bit about PAM. They were formed in 1965, but they existed for 31 years without a constitution. They were never interested in a constitution for themselves, at least not while Dr. William Herbert, who was their de facto leader, was alive. And even while Dr. Simmons was official party leader and this country's premier, then Prime Minister, Dr. Herbert was its de facto leader. It was only 2 years after his death and 31 years after their formation that PAM got a constitution. If he had lived on until now, PAM might still not have a constitution. And when you ask people, including people at high positions then and now in PAM, How could they govern without a constitution for so long? The answer is Dr. Herbert ruled. Imagine a constitution which is the foundation of the rule of law, the foundation of governance of an organization or country, not considered necessary for PAM for 31 years. No constitution for them, but a constitution for you. Opposed to independence, but choosing independence when it suited them. Can a man be the father of independence, which he opposes? How can people be heroes of a nation whose independence they truly never supported? And this may be one of the reasons that the constitution which they imposed on us is so defective, a document of convenience by persons who told us to live country above self, but chose to craft a constitution for us that suited not us but them. Which one of them can fairly lay claim to be the father of our nation? Again, they continued to argue in the 1980 election against independence, and NRP called for secession. 1982, Dr. Simmons sprang it on the country that he was going for independence. And they went to talks in England in 1982. Mr. Bryant was unable to attend on behalf of the Labour Party because of trumped-up charges against him, and they withheld his passport. At those talks in 1982 in London, the Labour Party proposed that integrity in public life provisions be inserted in the Constitution. Mr. Ivor Stevens, the number 2 man in NRP, shut down Labour by saying no, and if the people wanted to elect scamps, let them do so. PAM's and NRP's decision makers did not want constitutionally entrenched controls against corruption in high office. Which of them could be worthy to be called father of this nation or father of independence? Which of them could be worthy of such a name when they paid the sugar barons nearly twice the price for the sugar lands that they should have paid, using the people's money, your money? Which of them, having vehemently opposed Provident Fund and Social Security, the major lifeline for our people, especially for our workers, which of them can lay just claim and righteous claim to be the father of the nation or a national hero? When they were in power 1980 to 95, Mr. Bratcher's pictures were taken down and he was not to be mentioned. During those days when Dr. Simmons would appear on ZIZ TV, all other channels would be blocked out. So you had a choice. You either looked at him or you looked at a blank screen. And there are more things that I can tell you. But I say these things to help us reflect as to who is the true father of our nation and who is the chief architect of our independence. But as I say this, I also say that the success of this struggle cannot be attributed to only one man. Many men and women endured the struggle. And coming back to the comment by Prime Minister Drew, I have no problem with how he described Mr. Bratcher. And with regard to the drone show, while it may be possible that a decision had been taken in this 40th independence anniversary to highlight Mr. Bratcher, our first national hero, it is also a fact that there are 4 others, and it would not have hurt to include them. That said, there is a difference between indignation and righteous indignation. I want to end by just touching on the Cuba scholarships thing to indicate how obstructionist the PAM leadership were towards our people going to Cuba, poor people's children, to become professionals and to come back with the qualifications to improve the human resource and help to lead the country to more prosperity and stronger nationhood. They opposed it. They didn't want anything to do with Cuba. When the Labour government got in 1995, the floodgates opened and hundreds of young Kittians and divisions were encouraged and able to go to Cuba to become professionals. And many of them are in this country serving it, improving the quality of life for everybody in the country. Whoever opposed something like that can be the father of independence or the father of the nation. Think about these things. Thank you and goodbye.
Now, my good people, that was the commentary for the G.A. Dwyer Astor Fund for last Wednesday. Very powerful commentary. But I want to come back to Honorable Samal Duggins. When I listened to his portfolio, well, they said Dougie was 10 man in one, where it looked like Samal is doing 10-man job, the amount of things that he's doing there. And, you know, I cannot help but reflect to see that Mr. Duggins came here, sat and we had a lovely conversation. I know you, the online viewership, enjoyed the conversation. I know that because I did, and I'm pretty sure he did as well, because he's a truthful person. I have always known him to be that way, forthcoming and speak frank. We have known each other for some years, and that is what I know of Samal. What I'm trying to get out of our premier in Nevis there, Mark Brantley, is to do the same thing. Whatever is happening on Nevis, whatever it is, no man is perfect. Come to the people, talk the truth, and let's move on. But instead, what we get out of a premier from Nevis is cussing the people when they ask questions. Now, recently, just a few days ago, while we questioned the overdue hospital wing that started in 2017, I understand it started at a cost of $6 million on the Van same way. It ended up to be 19 million on the Premier Grand Prix. Started in 2017, supposed to complete in 24 months, which is 2019. In 2022, 2021, 2020, we're hearing all of the excuses. It was about COVID. The recent excuse we are hearing is some quantity surveyor in St. Kitts did not provide quantity surveys, so the project is on hold. But why, instead of Mark Brantley, come to the people and give the facts, talk the truth, come sit down with Morrishaw and let's have a conversation? Why he's out there on social media cussing everybody he could think about that does not support the wrong he's doing? Recently, I received this clip, so I want you to hear it for yourself. He cussing out some lady, says she face it to iron out with a goose because a regular iron cannot iron out her face. So take a listen to our esteemed premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, giving you his story.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady, and the lady used to be a good-looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they've disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, what's this woman's face? Face twists up, like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose that they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
Now, this is not premier quality. This is not no one that should be in our parliament, whether in opposition or otherwise. This is not somebody that should be leading any country. When you should be doing the work that the people elect you to do, you're there cussing every citizen every chance you could get. That, he didn't stop there, you know. He went on a rampage over the last couple of days on social media, stating that NRP gets some $4.6 million for the campaign, and they still lose. Well, in my view, you know, Janice responded to him, but in my view, if NRP get $4.6 million for their campaign from somebody and they still lose, well, maybe they could not match the number of money that the CCM had to bring in, the numbers that CCM brought in to roar for them. That's what the song said, roar for me. But I am not going to respond to you, Premier Brantley. I'm going to leave you up to the honorable leader, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. Take a listen to what Janice, the message that Dr. Hodge have for you.
Good afternoon and welcome to a special program this afternoon here on 2020 Vision Radio, as we listen to the voice of our esteemed party leader and the representative from St. James, Nevis 4, our esteemed Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. So we now switch over to hear from our party leader, Dr. Hodge. Dr. Hodge, please.
Good afternoon. My fellow citizens, friends, and well-wishers. Today I greet you as leader of the Nevis Reformation Party. I greet you on the 2nd day of October, 2023, on matters of national significance. On 13th September 2023, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew referenced a report emanating from an investigation that he commissioned into the financial affairs of the Development Bank during the 7 years governance of the Team Unity government, a construct comprised in part of the Concerned Citizens Movement, the People's Action Movement, and the People's Labour Party. Prime Minister Drew revealed that the findings of the report indicate that in excess of $20 million has gone missing. These are indeed grim findings deserving of serious attention. In the wake of all this, the Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, in a rather childish display of deception and dishonesty, took to social media on October 1st to lay false accusations against me and the party that I lead. On one occasion, he stated, and I quote, "I am cooking saltfish and thinking that NRP collect $4 to $6 million from Development Bank last election and still lose. I wonder who get the money. Rain a come for who got cocoa a son." He also wrote, and again I quote, "Which political party and its leader collect all those millions from Development Bank?" His insinuations are clear. Premier Brantley is attempting to accuse myself, as the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, of collecting or receiving the benefit of $4 to $6 million from the Development Bank in some scheme to finance the last election. Let me be as pellucid as possible. Neither the Nevis Reformation Party nor its leadership received funding from the Development Bank to finance the last election. It is obvious that while the Premier wrestles with the stark reality of his failed attempts of administration and the glaring mismanagement of funds that he may soon be called upon to answer for, the Premier has deployed his usual lame tactic of deception. These allegations put forth by the Premier represent nothing more than a vicious lie, a fable, plotted and meticulously calculated to achieve a single objective. That is, to cast sinister allegations against the NRP in an attempt to ruin our reputation and as honest men and women. I take this as a personal attack on my character as well, and for this I will not stand idly by and ignore. I will instruct my attorneys to take any and all steps to ensure that this narcissistic Premier is held accountable for his false accusations. I say to the Premier today, enough is enough, and this is where I draw the line. No mistake it easy today. While Rome burns, the Premier finds time to concoct deceptive Nancy stories. As a little girl growing up in Brownhill, I was always encouraged to tell the truth. We were told that whenever a lie is told, there is something that the liar is trying to hide. Of course, because a liar is mortified of the truth. The embattled Premier has much to answer to, and so I am persuaded that this latest act of desperation is to deflect from his incompetence. No amount of deflection, however, will hide the reality of his failed administration and the questionable use of state funds. I implore every Nevisian to ask yourself this simple question: are you any better off under the leadership of Premier Brantley? I am sure that the overwhelming response would be no. I will take a brief moment to chronicle some of the failures that should be occupying the Premier's time, rather than attempting to concoct stories on social media and elsewhere to mislead the people of Nevis. In the very first chapter, I note that since 2015, the fiscal status of Nevis has been mutilated. Our debt is now approaching a staggering $600 million, and this staggering debt continues to increase, notwithstanding that the government has collected approximately $700 million in tax revenues and nearly $500 million in CBI funds. The CBI funds, a treasure trove of funds to spend. Yet the treasury is bare and empty, and our narcissistic premier has managed to run this once proud, prosperous Nevis into near bankruptcy and confined our economy to a state of dormancy. In the next chapter, we see that Premier Brantley was the Minister of Foreign Affairs for 7 years, yet has failed to attract any foreign investments. There are minimal local investments and little trade. The Premier bragged that there were investors waiting out to sea until he took office. Well, they have all come to shore, but resorted to fleeing as far away as possible from this Premier. He has made announcements of hotels, including the Canning Resort, the Ammon Resort, the Windham Resort, yet none has been realized. He has promised to turn on the geothermal switch in 2017, but now, some 6 years later, with no investors, the federal government has had to step in. Sadly, our Premier has been reduced to an administrative handicap. The next chapter brings no comfort, my people, as it reveals sustained failure. And although it pains me to discuss it, I must mention that the current state of healthcare is alarming. Still, the Premier considers it the best that it has ever been. Perhaps he should have finished the sentence under his watch. To mourn the lack of basic medical necessities that haunt the community centers and the hospital, insufficient healthcare professionals, and those brave enough to weather the stressful environment are left to turn stone into bread. In response, we cannot turn a blind eye. We cannot forget the monstrosity of the new hospital wing that was scheduled to be completed within 24 months. But now, after $8 million by the health minister's count and $17 million by the Premier's count, and 7 years later, the struggle continues with no end in sight. The Premier has not told the nation that it was a candidate for his party and now a minister in his cabinet that drafted the plans for the hospital. And it was those plans that have caused all the issues. In his press conference of Thursday, 26 September, the Premier told the nation that another party is facing legal actions for the failure to perform their obligations associated with the troubled wing. But what action has he taken against his minister? What punishment is there for him? I am told that the value of the structure is a mere fraction of the millions spent. And I remind you, according to Premier Brantley, some $17+ million has already been spent and the structure is yet to be completed. My people, I turn the page to the next chapter about the Holy Water Taxi Facility. The Premier and his team laid out a majestic development plan for the area, inclusive of the pier, reception building, gift shops, and parking area, all at a cost of $6 million. The project was scheduled to be completed in 2018, but now, some 5 years later, this too has suffered a similar fate as the Alexandria Hospital. It remains incomplete, with a pier and some abandoned Sunday school benches pitched under a tent, presumably provided for comfort. Shabby at best, yet the $6 million has vanished, with a need for additional funding to complete the project. As regrettable as it is, I must turn to the next chapter and discuss the Social Security contributions that the NIA has collected but has not paid into the Social Security Board. This behavior is egregious. I have seen a letter from the senior manager addressed to the Nevis Island administration complaining of a whopping $9.1 million of contributions of the hard-working men and women of this country that have not been accounted for. I then looked at the date of the letter, only to be further stunned, since the letter was dated May 2022. It is not clear what the Nevis Island administration has done or is doing to remedy the dilemma, but the outstanding amount continues to increase. When many of our citizens attain retirement age, they may very well be heartbroken when reality hits and they come to realize that they have no pension. Our teachers, doctors, nurses, fire personnel, cleaners, you name it, they deserve better. But while all this was transpiring, a former member of the Premier's cabinet, Alexis Jeffers, was being paid an extra $2,500 per month above and beyond his minister's salary for his dealings with the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation quarry. What those dealings are, we do not know. What we do know is that the Premier sat by and permitted this activity. When one considers all these anomalies and quietly conclude that this could not get any worse, it did. We would recall that at the last elections, Mr. Jeffers was rejected at the polls. Yet, for reasons unknown to us, the Premier immediately brought back Mr. Jeffers as an advisor to the Nevis Island administration with a handsome compensation of almost $100,000 per year. All of this while your Social Security contributions are unaccounted for. My people, these are some of the issues that I believe haunt our Premier, but it does not end there. The federal government has taken the position that when funds are handed over to the NIA, thereafter they play no further part. While such approach may find general support, the issue of misuse of public funds must not be granted such safe passage. The Prime Minister has begun his investigations into some of the institutions of the state, but his efforts should not rest there. I believe that funds received by the CCM administration to undertake specific projects like the Mundo Track, the hospital, and the water taxi facility must also be investigated and audited. I therefore call upon the Prime Minister to act in this regard. The Social Security contributions, the CBI deal with Minister Spencer Brand, these are no small issues. These are real issues that affect the lives and livelihoods of thousands of our citizens. My people, there are more chapters, but for now, I will end here. I implore Premier Brantley to utilize his time wisely to advance the economic well-being of this country and not to further the incendiary conduct for which he has become known. Nevis needs reformation, and I remain resolute in my desire to serve and to work with and for the citizens of this great country. As we continue to monitor the tropical storm Philippe, we pray for God's mercies upon us. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless St. Christopher and Nevis.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, for that well put together message to the state, to the island, and I have to applaud you for that. As a matter of fact, Sister Janice Daniel Hodge, and I am inviting you, of course, to Carbos on Saturday. This coming Saturday, 7th of October, we'll be over at Carbos there in Fountain. We'll be celebrating the Men at Work's Auto Repair Clinic. They'll be celebrating their 40th anniversary that this coming Saturday. DJ Morrishaw will be in the area. My boy Alvin will be in the area and crew. As a matter of fact, I invite my brother there, the man Ira McMahon, across to Nevis as well. I know I might not get Dwyer and Sam, so I did not even waste my phone call to invite them over there. But one day I'm going to get Dwyer and Sam across there with me. But I invited Ira, and I hope to see Ira across there hanging with me on Saturday, that we could go and support King Cabo. Folks, the number, if you want to book your goat water or your fish and fungi or fish and green banana in advance, the area code is 869, as you know, 663-9694. We're going to have a good time. My boy Glendale Hubbard will be there. I'm pretty sure Pat Bartlett will be there, J.D. Keynes, Emmanuel Hanas, Tulu, Brother Daly, Brother Carlisle Powell, Henry Daniel. We will be there having a good time. And while I'm talking about food, my good people, I have to share some good news. I have been passing a place there up the Newtown Bay Road area for some time. And I met the owners and married to Nevis for the the Mango Festival. And I said to them, I have to stop by and give them some support. I never made it because of time, but I have some folks visiting my good friend here, my former chef, Maud Skinner, Bessie, celebrating her 80th birthday. Her sisters and her son came in, Sister Tracy, Sister Nestor, and Richard. I keep calling Richard by his brother's name. But they came in and they asked me to join them over at this place, Elfrido's Restaurant and Bar. Say specializes in local food, eat in or take out. They open Tuesday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Ken and Jasmine. So I said, okay, I will take up the offer. Joycelyn said she wanted to buy me lunch. I said, all right, I'll take up the offer. So it's there at the Newtown Bay Road. What I have to say about this place is this. I have traveled the globe. I have eaten by my boy there, Mike, over at Jamrock at Frigate Bay. Does some lovely oxtail, goat water, chicken soup, pumpkin cream soup, name it. Mike is bad. He's a cook. But the Marshall's up the hill, just the same, very good cook. But to my delight today, I decided to try the oxtail from Elfrido's. And the oxtail was so tender, it melts in your mouth. It dropped off the bone. You don't have to use the knife to cut it off the bone, my people. So I am inviting you folks to go across there and check out Brother Ken and Jasmine. That's Elfrido's Restaurant there and Bar. It's on Newtown Bay Road, St. Kitts. And the telephone number there is the mobile number. It's 869-764-9228. That's 869-764-9228. And the landline is 869-466-8871. For those of you folks who is online and not familiar with the area, it's when you're going up Newtown, just before you get to the gases there, where you make the left to go up by the fire station. The place is right there. Lovely place, clean place, lovely music. Man, I tried some of the local guava drink, and that guava was mass, right? So I just want you folks to check it out. Tell them DJ Morrishaw sent you, by the way, because this is a place I have to go back and try another meal to see if it was a mistake, if it was a one-off, or it is naturally good. So I'm going to find my way back there at some point before the weekend. Try another meal and try another local drink. But I want to thank, again, Joycelyn, Nestor, and Brother Richard for taking care of me this afternoon over there at Elfrido's Restaurant and Bar up there in the Newtown Bay Road. But, you know, we're running a little overtime tonight, you know. I really not up to the overtime, but I have to drop this final clip before I call it a night, because if I don't drop this clip, it will defeat the purpose. You all know that they have this team unity concussion from 2015 to 2022. And these guys keep playing chess. It was a tri-party coalition with the People's Action Movement, PAM, led by Sean Richards. The Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM, led by Mark Brantley, the now Premier of Nevis. And the People's Labour Party, led by the former Prime Minister, Timothy Harris. All three of them was in there. God knows what they were doing. But it seems like they're playing some chess game because they're holding secrets for each other. So some trying to bite their lip, but every time one throw out a little sprat, someone throw out a little hind, someone throw out a little butterfish. So apparently, the Premier might have touched a corn there for the former ambassador to the United Nations, Ian Patches Liebert. Well, it seems as though Ian lift up a frack at him last week, Thursday night. Either Tuesday night or Thursday night. It seems as though Patches put his frack over his head and decided to show the Premier how fall bottom look when wind blow. But before I play the clip, before I play this clip, I want to say good evening to Sister Ann Farrell Smith. Hope all is well with you. And the home front, I want to say good evening to Sister Gwyneth Morrishaw. Hope all is well. Sister Beverly Morrishaw. Cora Bennett. Hope you get well soon. I understand you're under the weather. Thanks for your continued support. My girl Hazel. I hope you're doing well. And Sister Naomi Ward. Hope you're doing well. Brother Cabo, make sure that you put the correction in the chat because someone said you didn't put the date. The date is this coming Saturday, the 7th. By the way, Hazel Claxton already sent me the money to buy a drink for your Cabo. So remind me when I get there to tell me what drink you want because Hazel already sent the money via ZELLE to buy you a drink. Tolo, Hazel said to buy you a drink as well. Carlisle and Kelvin, Hensley, Hazel said buy you all a drink. So make sure when you all get there, you all remind me because if you all don't remind me, I might forget to buy the drink and end up back in St. Kitts. And I don't want nobody to say that Hazel give me money to buy you all a drink. I didn't buy you all a drink. So make sure you all remind me. Hazel Claxton said buy she boys them a drink when I get to Cabo. So let's drop this clip here with, there's a millions missing. So let's see where the millions coming from.
Millions missing mark. Where social security money gone? Have you got that, my Straight Talk family? Millions missing mark. The social security money gone. On the last episode, rather, of Straight Talk, we exposed the reckless behavior of a man called Mark Brantley. We told the nation that Mark Brantley has taken Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy. And his only solution seemed to be to borrow money to pay his debt. So much so that the Nevis Island administration, if accurately reported by him, is over $500 million in debt. $500 million. Do you believe that, my Straight Talk family?
Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million. In terms of our domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt 480.3 million EC dollars. In terms of government guaranteed debt, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. When then you combine the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is corporations, of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number.
Significant, yes, by any measure, and more so in an island of 34 or 35 square miles. Am I correct? With a population of 13,000 people. It has to be significant. Especially when you start to do your debt to GDP per capita. Just for Nevis, my street dog family. And when you have a situation where a government does not pay its debt to its creditors, and in order to service his debt, my straight dog family, Mark Brantley uses an egregious strategy, abominable, I call it, in that Mark Brantley as Premier, Mark Brantley as Minister of Finance, deducts social security contributions from civil servants in Nevis and do not pay those monies into the Social Security Fund along with the NIA matching contribution. And this, I submit, has to be a criminal offense, my straight dog family. It has to be a criminal offense. My straight dog family, the evidence is clear. The evidence is pellucid. The evidence was exposed, and the facts cannot be disputed. Therefore, Mark Brantley, as Minister of Finance and as the minister with responsibility for human resource, must give an account of the money that was deducted from the salary and wages of the civil servants, beg your pardon, in Nevis. The latest amount owed to the Social Security Fund, we are told, including fines. Straight Talk has learned just yesterday that Mark Brantley's Nevis Island administration now owes a whopping $12 million to the Social Security Fund. We haven't heard the minister, Dr. Joe, talk about that. But we must, my straight dog family, we must hold Mark Brantley accountable. Because Section 61 of our Constitution is very clear. Very clear, my straight dog family. As it stipulates, where any minister has been charged with responsibility for any department of the government, he or she shall exercise general direction and control over that department. That's not discretionary, that's mandatory. Where any minister has been charged with responsibility for any department of the government, he or she shall exercise general direction and control over that department, my straight dog family. So it has to be Mark Brantley, the Minister of Finance. He must be the one instructing the Ministry or the Department of Finance or Ministry of Finance not to pay. And I wonder, as a layman, if this is not tantamount to larceny on the part of the Nevis Island administration headed by Mark Brantley. And I say so because I came across the Larceny Act Cap 4.16, which stipulates or states in Clause 3 of the Act that amongst other things that a person steals who, without the consent of the owner, fraudulently and without a claim of right made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen with intent at the time of such taking. Mark Brantley, my straight dog family, and the Nevis Island administration is depriving the civil servants of their benefits under the Social Security scheme. I also found Clause 19 of the said Act that speaks to conversion. I also found that clause quite interesting, as Section 1, subsection D, reads, and I quote my straight dog family, having either solely or jointly with any other person received any property for or on account of any other person fraudulently converts his or her own to his or her own use or benefit, or the use or benefit of any other person, the property or any part of the property or any proceeds of the property, commits a misdemeanor, and on conviction is liable to imprisonment with or without hard labor for term not exceeding 7 years. So what has Mark Brantley as Premier and the Nevis Island administration did with the money they have deducted from the civil servants in Nevis and not paid that money into the Social Security Fund with a matching contribution as required by the Social Security Act? What have they done with that money? If it's not gone to the Social Security Fund, then it has been fraudulently converted to some other thing, some other action. And this is troubling my straight dog family. The rough facts, as I said, my straight dog family, are these. And I presented those facts on my last episode. Dr. Drew has not told the country that Mark Brantley and his CCM Island administration owes the Social Security Board, owes the fund millions of dollars in contributions, my straight dog family. But Mark Brantley is fully aware that his administration has made Social Security deductions, beg your pardon, from its employees. But it has failed to pay monies that they deducted into the Social Security Fund. What kind of man is Mark Anthony Brantley? His administration, again, has made Social Security deductions from its employees, the civil servants, and has failed to pay those deductions, those deduction monies into the Social Security Fund. He has failed, my straight dog family. Those are the facts. But Mark Brantley was asked by a reporter about these facts. Here's the question by Straight Talk family.
On a program called Street Talk, a former member of the Team Unity administration, Mr. Ian Patrice-Liburd, made a comment about the Nevis Island administration and Social Security. In fact, he indicated that Social Security owes, the Nevis Island administration owes Social Security probably somewhere over $40 million.
Over how much?
Over $40 million in contributions. I would like you to comment on that if you could.
Fair question. Although not exactly what I said. The $40 million owed are really loans, but the monies owed for contribution, as I said earlier, amounts to a whopping $12 million as we speak. But one would have anticipated that an honest, decent, and competent leader would say true or false. Is it true that the Nevis Island administration has deducted monies from the wages or salaries of their employees and not paid it into the Social Security Fund with their matching contribution? That's straightforward. An honest, decent, and competent leader would have said it is true and give reasons why they have not paid the money into the fund as per the Social Security legislation. And if it's false, say Patches lie. Just like I said Drew lies and Mark Brantley lies, say Patches lie. But Mark Brantley is obviously none of the above. Based on his response, my Straight Talk family, his absurd response was this.
I was in cabinet for a short period with a man called Ian Patrice-Liburd. And what I will say today on record is that nobody, Mr. Bart, has ever accused Ian Patrice-Liburd of being bright. It has never happened. And at his age now, I don't think it will ever happen again. So, I don't respond to nonsense. And when I hear some of these people and their nonsense, I leave it right there. If Mr. Patches had any appeal to the public, he would not have been fired from every single job that he has ever held. He is now where he is because, you know why? He told people, I know you and you know me. He should have left it at I know you. Because once he said they know him, that's why people vote against him. So I am not concerned about the likes of Patrice-Liburd. He's where he belongs, and he will forever now be a talk show host. That is his calling. Let him stay right there.
My Straight Talk family, how do we interpret that answer? I went to my files to get a response to his non-answer to a pertinent question. Has the NIA deducted from the wages of its civil servants Social Security contributions and have not paid such deducted monies along with the matching contribution as per the law into the Social Security Fund? Straightforward question. But albeit in another context, former Deputy Prime Minister Powell once referred to Mark Brantley as an educated idiot. Here's what he said.
When Mark Brantley came on one of his broadcasts, well, if you are, and he had his phone in his hand, and he said, if you are looking at me, you would notice I have my phone, and the reason why I have my phone is because we have given the Prime Minister a deadline up to midnight. I said, oh, my father. I said, look at that educated idiot. where he get the authority from to talk about he give him Prime Minister deadline. My beloved brethren, educated idiot. As a lawyer, he must know the Constitution doesn't give him or anybody else any authority to give the Prime Minister any deadline. He must know that.
A description deriving from a different context, but it seems so appropriate, such an appropriate description of the man Brantley. And recently, a nemesis of Brantley made this prediction about him. Very interesting prediction, my Straight Talk family.
Mark Brantley will be remembered by historians and by people who read this period of our history as a coward, as a very dictatorial person who was very anti-democracy. How does Mark Brantley feel when he goes to sleep at nights, knowing that there is no public accounts committee? And no public accounts committee because there is no leader of the opposition. There is nobody to watch and to look at Mark and say, well, boy, the more money you get is the more money you spend and is the deeper in the hole Nevis goes. The Integrity Commission cannot have full membership for one reason, because there is no leader of the opposition to appoint a member on the Integrity Commission. In Nevis, the emperor without clothes, the one who can't get nothing done, has decided, I am king, I am God, and so there will be no leader of the opposition. When Mark Brantley is finished with politics, he will be passing people and begging them to tell him hello. And people will pass him as if they don't notice that there goes somebody. His place in history will not be a kind place, because he has caused more division in Nevis and in Nevis politics and amongst the people of Nevis than any other person in politics ever in the history of Nevis. He's in a sorry place, and I'm sorry for him.
In a sorry place. I like to hear when the vision say, boy, it sounds so unique. But someone told me just yesterday, my Straight Talk family, that in school, Mark Brantley was a talker, but without much depth. His classmate said he has grown into an arrogant monster. And though he often speaks about his late mother, he has absolutely no respect for anyone, and in particular women. And this comment epitomizes, beg your pardon, the man Mark Brantley. Recent comment just last night.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good-looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was here with me, I said, Lord, what's this woman's face? Face twists up like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose that they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
That's a typical Mark Brantley. Even his own CCM supporters have publicly condemned him. Pastor Doe had this to say about Mark Brantley just a few months ago, my Straight Talk family.
People have rejected Mark Brantley, and by right so. Mark is not doing anything for the poor man. Mark Brantley is not using his position as a premier to help the poor. Mark is going to do the same shit that he has done in the past. He recognizes only the foreigners, bring them in to work in top positions, and the CCM people who support him, he overlooks them, marginalize them, sidetrack them. But Mark continue down that stupid road. You need to listen. You need to listen. You need to understand that you're not representing the poor, Mark Brantley. You're not representing the poor. All the mouth that you have, you're not representing the poor. And that is That is getting to people's spirit.
I can see God to the pastor's spirit. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the but it's coming from the pastor. So I said it's probably a decent word. But all of a sudden, Mark Brantley has taken an about face or turn. But has been called out for it. He has been called out for it. Mark Brantley has realized that the Nevis Island administration cannot survive without subventions from the federal government. And this activist, I believe, is right on the ball with that assumption, my straight dog family.
I couldn't help but wonder, premiers about faith, about some newfound wisdom, or about the new reality, necessity more than anything else. After all, one does not become wise overnight. When you look at his previous positions to be fair share and all of that, you have to wonder. I think when you are beholden to the federal government as the NIA is currently, you have got to be politically nimble. I'm looking for a sign that Mr. Brantley can pull the rest of Nevis with his thinking. Whether he can convince the opposition in Nevis, the people of Nevis, to come around to his new found thinking. The NIA cannot survive without subventions from the federal government right now. Critically right now, that is the new reality. Okay? And so I think it was more a case of adjustment to suit that reality than any newfound wisdom.
Adjustment to suit that reality. But Mark Brantley, truth be told, my straight dog family, as Premier of Nevis, he has the Nevis Island administration believing like the federal government's rent boy, the way he suddenly wants to cuddle with Dr. Drew. Mark Brantley is petty, he's childish, and he's dunce. Functionally dunce. He's academically bright, but he's functionally dunce. Sometime we'll go into the hospital, which he just wanted, just recently, $2.5 million to get from Social Security, about a $35 million loan, which was rejected. We'll get to that some other time, my straight dog family. I confirmed very early as a member of the Team Unity Cabinet, in which I served for 5 years. And I'm proud of my legacy in the cabinet. I don't talk much about it, and people ask me why. Because I said self-praise needs no recommendation. And boast not yourself, I always learn, my straight dog family. But Mark Brantley has not learned, after buying his way into Parliament for almost 20 years. And yes, buying. Elections are easily bought. This is what we were told by his newfound friend, Terrence Drew. In St. Kitts, elections are easily bought by those who have money.
The election in St. Kitts and Nevis, whether you believe it or not, can be bought. It is not too expensive for a rich person to buy an election in St. Kitts and Nevis. This election has proven that.
And yes, Mark Brantley has money, not wisdom. And Mark Brantley cannot become wise overnight. He projects outwardly a newfound wisdom. But little does Mark Brantley know that the best measure of a man's intelligence is not what he says, but instead it is measured by what he does. I repeat that for Mark Brantley again. Mark Brantley, the best measure of your intelligence is not what you say, but instead it is measured by what you do. And you have done absolutely nothing in Nevis but to run the NIA broke. Mark Brantley, the next opportunity you get, therefore, to answer the question, please tell the country about the millions missing, Mark. Tell us, where Social Security money gone? That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it.
Well, that is Brother Ian Patches Liebert, former ambassador, responding to Premier Brantley. You want to know where the missing millions gone. So it seems as though the Premier is in some hot water and he's trying all kind of spaghetti on the wall, hoping something stick. But at the end of the day, you know, the business of the country got to go on, eh? And I'm running over time, 26 minutes going over time. I am not going to stick with you much longer this evening. But what I will say to you is next Wednesday, same place, same time. I just received a message from the Honorable Samal Duggins, as promised. He says the number to contact the small business office is area code 869-467-1203. That's the small business office, area code 869-467-1203. So all your small businesses out there that have concerns, question, whatever it is, call in DJ Morrishaw and giving me your views in much I can do. I brought the minister have spoken eloquently and what he's doing. He asked for some time to get things going. They're only 12, 13 months in office and they have done a lot. They are doing a lot more to be done. But for you small business people who might be having some concerns or issues, feel free to call the office during the office hours at 869-467-1203. Again, I want to big up my girl there, Lioness Charles. I wonder which part in the world she is. Lioness Charles is one of the people that took the time out and rally for change down at the mission back in 2021 when we was trying to bring some attention to what's taking place in our beloved federation under the former administration, where 3 of our citizens got arrested for carrying a placard. People was tear gas. There was no riot. There was no reason for tear gas. And still today, some people want to act like it never happened. You know. And for those who wants to act like these things never happened from 2015 to 2022, feel free to believe them. The facts are, they're there, they're documented. And for your people that feel like you want to get upset because DJ Morrishaw is trying to be educated by the people and trying to educate the people on the information that he is privy to, fine. But Bob Marley said in his song, the truth is an offense, but not a sin. I'm not going to come here and lie to you people. I come here weekly with the best of interest for the people of St. Kitts Nevis and for the island of St. Kitts Nevis, not to mislead, but to educate and to help and to be educated. And I want to thank you online viewers for your continued support, for continue coming week after week. Brother Thaddeus Deposaur, the Ira Henry, the Eustace Hendrickson, I mean, all you folks. There's so much names to call tonight. It's impossible for me to call the names, the thousands of you that are online at this time of the night. But what I would like to say is to support businesses that support you. So when you travel throughout the country, remember, I got my boy here, Rasta man there. Ras back where by the Passing Ground. Check out Ras. on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, where you get your goat water, bullfoot, cook up, and whatever. Just tell Ras DJ Morrishaw sent you, right? And if you go down to Newton Ground, you got him and Body down there, the Body Slam Bar, just as the same. Let him know DJ Morrishaw send you with his bullfoot and cook up as well. Don't forget Island Purified Water. My brother there, Mr. Powell, whenever DJ Morrishaw is in the Federation, he makes sure he stock me up with my water to be hydrated. So I want to big up Brother Powell and the crew there at Island Purified Water. They really take care of the DJ when he's here. My boys there, Spratnet, support them as well. Guy Joe's there in Old Road, up Station Street. Lovely place to hang out. You get some good food, a game of domino, and you have a good time there. My brother Mike there over Jam Rock Restaurant there in the Frigate Bay area. Touch Mike, let him know DJ Morrishaw sent you. Great food, great entertainment. Brother Marshall up the hill, just the same. And today, I just found a new venue. Alfredo's over there in the Newtown Bay Road. Definitely have to check them out. Also, if you're looking for places to stay and send kids, you can check out my uncle there, Brother Joseph Emmanuel, there at Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guest House. There's reasonable rates for place to stay, whether you want to stay short stay or long stay. Joseph Emmanuel will definitely help you out. Just tell him DJ Morrishaw sent you, and Uncle Joseph will make sure you take care of you. If you want to plan your weddings, repass, any party session you want to have, Uncle Joseph will definitely accommodate you. He's a man of business and very quiet, but very serious about his business. His number is area code 869-668-1392. That's 869-668-1392. Also, don't forget to check out my girl there up in Tower. Sister Ilo at the Run It Bar there, Lovers Lane, tell her DJ Morrishaw sent you. All right, and everything is good. Don't also forget to check my cousin there, Gloria, with her store. There's one there on Cairn Street, whereas our 4th Street, Smart Fit. Just tell them DJ Morrishaw sent you. And the main store is there on Central Street in the old Simaco building next to Skelec. Tell them DJ Morrishaw sent you. My boy there as well for the Cabo. Don't forget over there in Nevis at the Mango Tree Bar there, check the Culturama Bar, check out the folks there, Moffett Slap, the man Mikey Slap. You gotta support everyone, right? But this Saturday, it's all about Cabo up there in Fountain. So let's check Cabo. I wanna big up my girl, Desiree and brother Frankie for the Apple Cider Ferry. Thanks for all of your assistance and support, transporting me back and forth. Also, Brother Prince and Captain Hull there at the Caribbean Express and crew. Want to thank you guys for all of your accommodation. Don't forget right here in the St. Paul's area at Hilden, if you're looking for some place to stay, very accommodating, nice food, lovely atmosphere, you reach out to the general manager there, Mrs. George. That's the Ramada Hotel. Give them a link. They'll be happy to accommodate you there. I had some folks that stayed there, very good feedback, reasonable prices. Check them out there at the Ramada. We are here in the St. Paul's area, in the Republic of St. Paul's. My brother there, brother Bevis Hutchinson, you know, he got a little snack it there, lovely thing. Check him out, Sister Ministerial there, Richard Shop. But don't forget, you know, if you're on the Ireland Main Road in St. Paul's, you must stop at my boy there. Everything bang on. The man Shabby, right next to the Roosevelt. Just check out Shabby there every Thursday. Like tomorrow, you go there. My boy will be there banging some serious barbecue, pork and chicken and stuff. Don't forget to check out there at the Bang On Bar. And you know, you check my boy down there as well at the ferry terminal there. Check him out for some lovely barbecue, pigtail and stuff like that. My boy Geezer. Just check the Geezer there. I want to big up my boy Luda Kelly. How about the man Julian Pemberton? Brother Aston Williams had a great time at his place there on the pitch on Monday evening. Had some lovely chicken neck soup and stuff like that. Want to big up my girl, Laura Williams. Also, you check her store there in the TDC Mall, right on 4th Street. Also, Jasmine has some good stuff there. But you know, it's now at the bottom of the hour there, 8:30, 8:35. So we're going to have to drop the unofficial national anthem for this evening. And I look forward to coming back at you next week, same place, same time, 6 p.m. And again, I want to thank Brother Dwyer Astafan for his lovely commentary for today. I want to big up my boy, the man Ronnie Rascal, about the man Monarch, the man EK, about the man Alva Bradley, Theo Clark, and company via Galloway. Want to also big up my boy, the Brother Ray, our Brother Ray doing, the man Warren Bradshaw, and the man DJ Wet Dot. Want to big up you guys. The big jail. Hope all is well with you, my brother. Everything good on my end. The man Sam Conda, Dwyer Astafan, the man Larry Vaughan, Sister General Tracy Mason, how you doing? The man, the big lice. Haven't heard from you in a bit. We gotta have a drink. The man Douglas Watley, the talk puppy. The man Carlton DuPont, hope all is well with you. Sister Joseph Buchanan. We're gonna drop this one, the unofficial anthem for the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis as I get out of here. Every good thing must come to an end. I just want to big up my engineer, the man Ike. Without Ike, this program will be dead. Right? Without Ike, this program will be dead. So I want to big up the man Ike. And I also want to thank my new technician that's been working with me over the last couple of months there, the man Elvin Ellie. I want to thank you. I want to thank your wife for giving you the time to rap with me all hours a night when we're putting our thing together. I want to also big up the man Lord Kent, Brother Kent. Big track you have there, Hallelujah song. Big up my girl Debbie, and hope all is well with you guys. Brother Alvin Brown, don't forget we have a date on Saturday. Make sure that you're over at Carbo's. We're gonna be there from around midday, and we're gonna be hanging at Carbo's for a bit. I also want to big up my boy there, Brother Patrice Nisbet. He been a kind of slippery. I'm trying to track him down to have a conversation. He's kind of slippery, but I'm going to get him eventually. He's gonna have to settle down at some point, you know. So I want to big up the man Raymond Cotton, Tanya Powell, Nayoka Bailey. How about the man Shanky Richard? Everything good with you? I also want to say a special good night again to Sister Ann Farrell Smith, Sister Cora Bennett, Gwyneth Morrishaw. My favorite cousin there, Sister Natalie Carty in St. Thomas. How you doing? How is Caroline Connor and crew? Eustace Hutchinson and my uncle in St. Croix. I want to big up my boy there, the man called Brother Carl Morris there, Sister Valencia Morris, Brother Sour, Avon Brown, Patsy Brown, Mara Alf and crew. Hope all is well with you all. Sister Eto, how you doing? Etlin Blyden Cannoneer. I want to drop this track for you, the people of St. Kitts Nevis, and want to wish you a good night as we listen to the lyrics. And, you know, another music is nice.
unification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in this harmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, nice. The late great King Arrow. So the country is yours, all yours, still yours. I want to say good night to Sister Loretta. How you doing? The man George Nisbet, someplace around the world. Valentine Buchanan, is part of your Carol Libert Ward. Sister Joyce Henry, how are you doing? Just want to say good night to Sister Yvonne Jeffers, Norris Huggins, Patricia Hazel, Joycelyn Hazel, Ingrid Daniel Farrell, how are you doing? Good evening. Shining Queen Stars, huh? Ira Burgundy. All right. Good night. Abby Tudor. Yes, like I say, every good thing have to come to an end. And an end is it tonight. So I just want to wish everyone safe passage wherever you may be. I want to big up my boy Django. Hope all is well. I want to also say happy birthday to Kenisha. Hope all is well with you. In the meantime and between time, we tread to the